fourth speaker today is Melissa Turner. Melissa Turner is an award-winning thought leader, advisor, author, and speaker, is co-creator of Care for Better Tomorrow. She is a Chief Hygiene Officer for Celerant Consulting and co-founder of the National Mobile and Teledentistry Conference and Alliance. Turner is creator of the iHeart Dentistry Network and is known on Instagram as @TheToothGirl. Melissa's topic today, new, Artificial Intelligence 101 for the dental hygienist, a review of new and innovative technologies for the clinical hygienist. Enjoy this time with Melissa, and thank you for attending Under One Roof Extended.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Melissa, and I'm excited to get everything going today over the next 2 hours. We're going to have such a great time together. I hope you have your comfy clothes on, maybe an elastic waist, beverage of choice, and just hunker down, get warm, and enjoy the next 2 hours. I have an elastic waist on too, yoga pants all the way, but you don't need to know that. So today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence for the dental hygienist, for the dental team. Now, when I created this course is intended for anyone. And then what I do is I hone in and pull out the little nuggets that the particular group would like. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today that will apply to you during your clinical practice. We'll talk about some billing, we'll talk about some things, some business things. These are things that hygienists, believe me, hygienists should know, even if we're not dealing with this on a daily basis. So Artificial Intelligence 101 for the dental hygienist. This is a review of new and innovative technologies for the clinical hygienist. And I'm gonna focus on this. It's going to be an overview. This course is high level. We don't dive into the weeds. My goal for you is to, whatever you leave the course thinking about, if it's one product, if it's one thing I said, whatever you leave the course thinking about, it's your responsibility then to go and dive into that topic, that product, as much as you can, and you can get into the weeds with it. Artificial intelligence, even as I say it, my blood pressure raises a little bit, can be somewhat of a scary thing. There can be some fear involved anytime, we talk about it or think about what AI could do for us in the future. And so that's one of the reasons why I created this course. I created this course so we can take the fear, we can remove the fear out of what AI means to us. The other reason I created this course is because over the last 5 years or so, even before COVID, if you asked anybody in dentistry what they thought about when they thought about artificial intelligence in dentistry, they would tell you, oh, AI in dentistry is X-ray AI. It's computer vision to read X-rays. And while that's all good, the fact is that we use AI in virtually everything we do in practice and in our everyday lives. And so the second reason I made this course is to help us collectively understand how we live and breathe artificial intelligence already. And it's not something we need to be afraid about. Now, I will tell you this, 2025 is the year to work smarter, not harder. And you're going to hear me kind of go into that over and over again over the next 2 hours, because as hygienists, I know we work so hard. We bend over backwards for our patients. We go to the depths of the gum pocket and the depths of the soft tissue to make sure that a 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter square area is completely free of debris, right? It's completely desiccated, it's completely clean, so that that patient can have a better chance at health. So I know how hard we work. I see you, I hear you, and it's time for us to claim that we need to work smarter, not harder. And so AI, technology, some of the tools and products I'll be talking about today, these things are going to help us do just that. So let's move on here. Endeavor and RDH Under One Roof Extended does have several CE certifications. They've got ADA CERP. They are providers of these. They've got the PACE and the AADH. So you can receive CE for this. And at the end, we will put up a code. The very last slide will be a code. So be sure to stay for the end. This is my disclosure slide. I am not being paid by any product company to put this course on today, but I do want to thank RDH Under One Roof Extended and Endeavor Media for supporting all of the speakers who come through RDH Extended and for putting this on today. A little bit of a disclosure on my end as well. I am a hygienist going on 20 years. For those of you that don't know me, I've lived and worked all over the country, and what an experience that has been. The stories I could tell, right? Let's sit down together and swap some stories in the future at Under One Roof this year. How about that? I live in Portland, Oregon with my husband Andrew and my 2 kids. This is an old picture, but Maggie is now 10, going on like 45, and Pepper is 8. And she is Spicy Pepper. She does not like being called that, but that is her personality. And these kids are what drive me. These kids are what help me want to make positive change, not just in dentistry, but across the country and across the world. So there's 3 things that I do, and I'll just go through these real quickly just so you understand where I'm coming from. The first is public facing as a speaker, as a key opinion leader, and as an influencer. If you want to connect on Instagram, that QR code will send you to Instagram and we can connect, and I will follow you back. Secondly, I am co-founder of several organizations and founder of several organizations in dentistry, most notably the Denobi Awards. The Denobi Awards is coming up soon. The gala, it's Dentistry's Oscars. The gala happens every March, and it closes out the National Mobile and Teledentistry Conference. So the Denobi Awards is an award program. You can nominate, and then we announce 10 winners and 1 clinical dental team at the award gala every March. And we're going on year 5. It's an anniversary year this year for us, so we're excited for that. If you're interested in mobile dentistry, teledentistry, we'll touch on that just a little bit later on today. Please join us at the National Mobile and Teledentistry Conference. Again, this will be in Portland, Oregon, right before the Denobi Awards. So it's coming up very soon. If you're interested in understanding what roles hygienists can play outside of the op, then this is the place for you. If you're interested in providing your care, your clinical care, just off-site, whether in a school, in a home, in a van, this is the place for you. And if you're interested in owning your own practice, this is the place for you. You will find that at this conference, it's one of the only places where public health and the rest of dentistry comes together. And it's also one of the only places where hygienists who own practices are on the same page and in conversation with dentists and DSOs who own practices as well. So it's a special group. Please come, one and all. Third thing, final thing, most of my time is spent behind the scenes as a brand strategy consultant with product companies, working on building brand strategy, product development, marketing, things like that. And I also work one-on-one with clinicians, hygienists, and founders to help go to the next level. So that's personal brand strategy. Okay, moving on. Here we go. Over the next 2 hours, we will learn and understand the various roles technology can play in dentistry and will play down the road. We'll discover products and services that are coming down the line and some that are not yet on the market. We'll learn how technology can assist with patient education and compliance, and we'll address inefficiencies in clinical practice and figure out the tools to help optimize and correct those inefficiencies. I want to kind of take a moment here to describe a scenario together. I want to walk through a scenario, and I really want you to listen closely, because this is the whole point of basically this course. Okay, so I'm going to describe a scenario, and we're going to talk about Bob. Bob is, we'll just say he's a 60-year-old male. He's a smoker, and he hasn't been in the dental office since COVID. Okay, so this is Bob. Bob decides it's time to go back to the dental office, and so he finds a preferred provider, and it happens to be your practice. So he calls up your practice, he talks to your front desk person, and he makes an appointment. This front desk person goes over his health history with him. They kind of talk about the weather a little bit. They schedule an appointment, and the front desk person also sends a link to Bob's phone so Bob can prepay for the appointment, right? That's kind of cool. Well, the thing is, the person he was talking to at your practice was not actually a real person. In this scenario, the person was an AI team member robot. Okay. Imagine that. A robot that can actually chat with you about the weather, a robot that can go through his medical history and flag anything that needs to flag, a robot that can go and verify his insurance, right? This is the capability that is here already in dentistry, and we'll talk about that more later on. Okay, so Bob scheduled his appointment. He comes into your practice the day of the appointment. He checks in at the kiosk. He scans a QR code, checks in on his phone, right? There you go. That's kind of a new thing. You see that he's here and you bring him back and put him in your chair to start assessments. You start the assessments. You take x-rays, and while you're taking x-rays, the computer, which he can see, will pop up the x-ray and point out any cavity, any bone loss, any pathology on the x-ray, okay? You take an intraoral scan, and you also take an intraoral video and photos. Now, on the x-ray, you see something. Well, the computer points out something in the lower left around the angle of the mandible. You can't really see it on the computer at all. You wouldn't have seen it, but the computer is pointing something out. So you say, okay, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to look in that area. We'll take some pictures of it, ... You get in and you look at that lesion, and it's hard to see. You might have missed it had you not known that the computer had already pointed out that there might be a problem there. So you take a look at that lesion in Bob's lower left, and it looks kind of raised, looks kind of interesting. It's just slightly discolored, but your gut starts to flip. Your gut starts to say something's not right here. So you go ahead and you break out an oral test. This oral test collects saliva, it collects some skin cells of that area, and it can test for precancerous lesions, and it can also test for a whole bunch of other things in the mouth, different pathogens, different biomarkers from pathogens. And so you take this test, and because technology is what it is, this test, you don't have to send it out to a lab. You can get it done right then and there and find the results right then and there. And the results are that Bob is at risk for cancer. Okay. So while you sit down and do these assessments, you're also using an intraoral mirror, but it's not any intraoral mirror. It is a smart mirror. It lights up, which is great, but this mirror also video records everything that you're doing. It can take pictures, you can talk to it, you can command it to do different things, but it feels just like a regular intraoral mirror. On the other side of that video, live streaming, is your dentist. He's on his lunch break, and he knows he needs to come into your room in just a minute to say hi to Bob for the first time. So while he's eating his PB&J, he's sitting there and watching what comes through the live stream on your smart mirror, and he sees that lesion, and he says, oh boy, I gotta get back there. So he comes back, he greets Bob, and he sits Bob down and says, hey, the computer's pointing out this lesion. It does not look good in the mouth. The salivary test is coming back and saying, we need to get this looked at. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on these AR glasses, augmented reality glasses. On the other end of these glasses is a specialist who is going to see what I can see. The specialist can talk to me and point out things through my glasses that he wants me to look at. So the doctor puts these glasses on and starts talking to the specialist who is on the other end of these glasses. And the specialist says, we need to get Bob in as soon as possible. Bob needs to make an appointment tomorrow. So what happens is we then take Bob up to the consult room. He has a virtual consult with the specialist. They schedule for tomorrow. Bob goes into the specialist tomorrow. They take out that area, they biopsy it, and once you know it, it was cancer. This scenario, I'll tell you that every tool, every product I mentioned is on the market or about to be on the market. This scenario saved Bob's life. And this is where I talk about working smarter, not harder. If we can use technology and AI and tools to streamline communication with care providers, with specialists, with the patient, if we can have instant communication, if we can have instant diagnoses, we can save lives. And that is our responsibility. Every product I mention in that Bob scenario is available to us now or pretty soon. We are about to undergo a completely new technology revolution in dentistry. And it's going to benefit us as providers, but mostly it's going to benefit the patient. Because maybe, just maybe, our patients will have a better chance at life because of this. So this is why I created this course, to start getting things rolling in your mind. How you've done things in the past has been good. But how about thinking, okay, what can I do for the future to streamline my clinical work or to help my patients? Let's dive in. I'm excited for you to be here with me. Okay. I wanted to get us all kind of started on the same foundation, just a quick history of technology so you can understand how fast things have been moving. Since 2000, since Y2K, it's not everything, but this is a summary of the things that have happened. It's always important to reflect back and understand the journey that we have lived so that we can understand the future. So in the late 2000s is when the cloud came out. I remember my husband and I saying that even just a couple years ago, like, what is the cloud? Why do we need to use it? What is it, right? Now we all use it every day. We don't even know it, right? 2003, 2004, MySpace and Facebook came out. Not too long after that, Twitter and Instagram. The iPhone only came out in 2007, people. Only 2007. That is not that long ago. Uber came out in 2010. So these products and these tools that are now integral in our lives are so new to society, right? Things are moving at the speed of light here. Other major advancements, we now have short form video content. I read a statistic the other day that says the younger generations watch more user-generated content than actual Hollywood content, right? Very interesting. My kids, they're allowed on YouTube. They're allowed on screens 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day. And a lot of times they'll go on YouTube and start watching user-generated content. And I don't know how I feel about that, right? We have e-commerce now. We're constantly buying things, having them delivered. We have online streaming, 3D printing, virtual reality, and a lot of renewable energies and a lot of talk about that. So this, in summary, is what we've done since 2000, okay? One of these things would have been huge, let alone all of them. JFK said, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. This is one of my favorite JFK quotes, and I believe Jackie Sanders, editor of RDH Magazine, was the one that told me this quote. This is something that I put in every one of my courses. We need to understand change. It is the law of life. We need to look to the past, we need to look for the future, and we need to put it all together in one big story, and that will help us move forward. The top ways that AI is used in our personal lives, okay, this will help remove that fear from how we think about AI. Anytime you open up your phone, Face ID, any kind of feed that comes over your phone or computer is always now personalized to you. Spell check, Grammarly, predictive text, all that is AI in the background. Search engines has been AI since the beginning. We've got personalized ads. The other day I clicked on a vacuum by accident, a vacuum ad by accident. Now I get vacuum ads popping up everywhere. My husband does too, right? I don't even need a new vacuum, right? But this is what AI has helped us do. We now have digital voice assistants. We have appliances that are smart. We can make our entire house smart. Anytime you do online banking, you're using AI. Anytime you're on Amazon, you're using AI. Anytime you watch Netflix or YouTube or Disney Plus, All of that is AI. My point is this. We use it. We live and breathe it. We live and breathe technology. How can we implement this technology into our clinical lives more and more and more so that we can become more efficient? But here's the catch. This list is not the top ways we use AI in this year, in 2025. This is how it was used in 2019, okay? So it only took a couple years for all of these things to become mainstream in our own personal lives. So let's look at how we use AI. This is in 2024. We'll update this list for 2025 as soon as there is a list available. Top ways artificial intelligence is used in 2024. Diagnostics and treatment planning. Personalized assistants can do more and more and more for you. Search engines, curated content. Now we have something called generative AI, and I have some examples of this in here. If you haven't used generative AI yet, you will soon, because now it is starting to become to be everywhere and available. Predictive analysis and data analysis. This is a significant thing. I'm not going to dive into it, but when we can analyze data, when AI can do it for us, it's going to see, just like on the X-ray, it's going to see more things than our brain and our human eye will ever see. We've got something called natural language processing. We've got autonomous systems. I drove in an autonomous car the other day. I took an Uber in Scottsdale, and Uber asked me if I would be okay riding in a driverless car. And I said, well, let's try it. It was fantastic. Loved it. I didn't have to talk to the Uber driver because there was no Uber driver, right? A little bit scary at first, but as soon as I understood how it worked and how safe it was, then I became confident. Now I want a self-driving car. I don't want to drive myself anywhere. I want to utilize that time more efficiently, right? Fraud detection. This is huge right now. Within dentistry, cybersecurity, outside of dentistry, fraud detection is huge. I'm constantly getting alerts on my credit cards and on my bank saying, hey, was this you? Did you make this purchase? You made a duplicate purchase, right? So this is all AI. And then also personalized learning and grading. And this is something that we're going to see, I think, even more in the future. Our kids are going to have their own educational journeys that's more personalized to them, even in public school, even in private school, even in a virtual school. Right now, the top industries for artificial intelligence usage are healthcare, finance, marketing and advertising, and education. Within business, these are the main ways that it's helping us. It's helping us automate everything. It's helping us with customer relationship management. It's helping us with customer service, right? These AI robots that can chat with your customers. And it's helping us with finance, okay? So this is the overview. The other thing I wanted to do before we dive into how AI is used in dentistry is to go through some of the main definitions. We're not computer scientists, right? We're healthcare scientists, we're dental scientists. And so, we might throw around these definitions on a daily or weekly basis or whatever, but we might not know what it is. So let's narrow down, let's get all on the same page as to what these definitions are. So artificial intelligence, definition of it is this. It is the creation of intelligent machines that work and act like humans. Machine learning. What is machine learning? Machine learning are the algorithms that improve through experience. So what happens is we'll take these X-ray AI companies, for example. Over the last 10 years, these X-ray AI companies, even before they had a product for us to buy, they were using machine learning in the background. They were just inputting data after data after data after data and helping the computer understand what it's looking for, what the conclusions are, and go from there. I've read that it can take 10,000 data points before the computer itself, it has a reliable product. And this is what it means when we say that AI keeps getting smarter, is because the more information that you put in it, like ChatGPT, The more information you can put in it, the more the computer has to go from, okay? So that's the machine learning that's happening in the background of all of this. And it takes years, years and years and years. Natural language processing, also called NLP. This is the interaction between the humans and the computers using natural language, right? It's not using the ones and the zeros. It's not using code. It's using our natural language. So easy example of this is when you either voice or text into a Google search, right? What we put in and what comes back to us is this process. It's this interaction. Robotics combines AI with physical machines. That's an easy one for us, right? Virtual reality, VR. It is computer-generated simulation that provides an immersive sensory experience. We'll talk about this a little bit later. We'll give some examples of how we can use it in the dental practice. Some of you might be using it to help calm your patients, right? We'll dive into that. And then we've got something called augmented reality. This is AR. This is when you use virtual reality, right? You utilize an existing environment, and then you superimpose new layers of digital information on top of that. So for me, one of the most common ways I use it is when I'm shopping. If I'm buying a new couch, I can put that couch in my living room through my phone, right? You can overlay it. And that's a wonderful tool, and it can get the sizing and dimensions correct too, which is it's amazing. So that has gotten smarter over the years. Okay. Augmented reality. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I have this same slide in my biofilm course as well, because biofilm is amazing. And I say, we think as humans, we think that we are running the world, right? But really, I think biofilm might be running the world, these small microbes. But in this case, I'm saying that maybe we might be a little bit afraid, because are we running the world, or is it computers, right? It's just one of these things. But I had to put The Matrix in here. It's one of my favorite movies, and it was so forward thinking. And so at a time like this, when we are looking at how computers can make us work smarter, not harder, I had to think about The Matrix, right? There are pros and there are cons to anything, including technology, right? One of the statistics I've heard, and this was shocking, and I'm going to try to get the numbers correct here. One of the statistics, and this is one of the most modern ones, it was the average American is on their phone 4.5 hours a day. Okay. And so when I heard that stat, I was like, okay, that seems about right. Those of us that work on computer or phone, that number is going to go up. But we'll just say for entertainment and pleasure, we are on our phone 4.5 hours a day, and we check our phone 144 times a day at least. Okay. So when I saw that 4.5 hours a day statistic, I said, okay, I'm going to do some math here. I want to know, by the time I'm 80, which really is not that far off, by the time I'm 80, how much time will I have spent on my phone? So I did the math, and I did the math again, and I did the math again, and I thought, this cannot be right. This absolutely cannot be right. So I took the math equation to my husband, and I said, this is the scenario. We're on our phone 4.5 hours a day. By the time we're 80, how much are we going to be on our phones, right? And he came up with the same number. And this is it, folks. Okay, this is scary. Get ready. By the time you're 80, if you are on your phone for 4.5 hours a day, you will have lived 10 years of your life on your phone. 10 years of your life will be on your phone. And that's not even the time we spend on the computer in front of the TV, right? We are going to spend significant portions of our lives on a screen by the time we're 80. And to me, this is scary. To me, this is why I try to limit my kids to only 1 hour of screen time a day. Pros and cons, right? Pros and cons. This is me, technology expert, saying, hey, there are cons here. So, but let's start with the pros. Okay. The pros of AI and technology: improved outcomes, improved efficiency, automation. I remember the first time that uh, I had a computer program where I could give that a link and somebody could schedule a meeting with me and it could go right into my calendar, right? That kind of automation, it doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. But before we had that opportunity, do you know how many steps we'd have to take? How many emails that go back and forth and back and forth to try to find a time to even just have a virtual meeting with somebody, right? That's the automation, the efficiency that we can create in our lives because of this. The other big thing is reduction of human error. I first started in dentistry in the early 2000s. Digital x-rays were just coming around. I really miss things from that time. I miss the dark room. I miss kind of the smells of the dark room. I miss paper charts. I really miss paper charts. Flipping through charts, I can understand it. It works with me. Digital charts, not so much. Paper charts gave me a sense of timeline. Oh, this paper is yellow, so I know this chart note was really old, right? The chart was this thick, so I know this patient has been here for years and years and years. Versus on a digital chart, you don't have that sense of tangibility, I guess, and so I really miss that. However, the reduction of human error with AI, with digital charting, just as an example, is so significant. How many times did we have to have a patient fill out paperwork and then we have to put their phone number in the system? We have to manually enter it. We have to manually enter their health history and the medications they're making. And how many times did we catch ourselves making a mistake with that? How many times did we not catch ourselves making a mistake? And these can be critical errors. What if the patient needed a pre-med, right? And that didn't get transferred from paper to digital because of human error. So this is where the AI really can help us. The other thing too is personalization. This means that down the road, we're going to have healthcare that is not one size fits all. Just like education, it's going to zero in on what that person needs based on their past, based on their genetics, based on a whole bunch of things. Right now, there are some companies that are experimenting with customizing toothpaste based on what comes back from salivary tests, based on what vitamins and minerals you need based on your genetics, right? So there's different things that are going to come from this that are going to blow your minds, and it's going to help you be healthier and happier. So personalization, huge thing. Cons, we talked about it. We're going to spend a lot of our lives on screens because of technology. One of the cons is that AI is still learning, and I have some examples of this as we go through the course today. How do we include these new tools and AI products in our workflows? Sometimes we simply need to throw out the entire workflow. So, for example, in clinical hygiene, right? Like a new tool comes down the line. Let's talk about X-ray AI, right? A new tool comes down the line like X-ray AI. Now the computer shows us the cavities and the fillings and existing restorations and any pathology, anything that's wrong. It still needs a human eye. It still needs the diagnosing provider to look at that X-ray and to confirm yes or no, right? Because AI is still learning. But for us as hygienists, we still have to say, in most states, we still have to say, the computer is pointing out a suspicious area, okay? Beforehand, we would have to do that and hope that we were calibrated enough with the dentist so that when the dentist would come in, he or she or they would say the same thing, right? But now that a computer is saying it, it helps that workflow. It helps us all kind of get on the same page. And it helps the patient understand, okay, I can trust the computer. Even if they don't trust the hygienist or the dentist, they're more likely to trust a computer pointing out something that's wrong, and they'll be able to accept their case better, their treatment better, faster, right? So this is how we include in a workflow. Sometimes we simply will need to throw out the old workflows, right? And that's kind of where in the next couple of years, we're going to start to understand that, not just in what we do as the hygienist, but what the dentist does, what the dental therapist does, what the dental assistant does. We're probably going to have to just throw out how we did things in the past and create new systems and processes to move forward. Okay. The other thing with AI is, will it take away jobs? The answer is probably yes. Probably not in our industry, but it may take away jobs. The AI team member, the robot, some administrative personnel might be afraid that it would take their job away. But what ends up happening is, okay, so the AI team member will take over the bulk of that communication. And then anytime there's a more complex situation, or anytime there needs to be a hands-on approach, then the administrative personnel can call the patient and they'll still have a job, right? What happens is AI is going to allow the humans to be more human and be more creative. If any of you have read Seth Godin's book, I don't have it. Oh, here it is. Hang on, let me get it for you. This is one of the most powerful books I have ever read. It's called Lynchpin. There you go. It's Seth Godin, and he talks about how, because of the Industrial Revolution, our generation and the generations before us have learned to be robots. We've learned to be machines. We've learned to be a cog in the wheel because that's what we need to be to get paid, to move on, to make an income. And one of his points in Lynchpin was that we are actually now have the chance to be more creative as humans. If the monotonous robotic jobs are now given to computers, that means we can be more creative. We can be the linchpin. We can do what makes us happier because humans are creative, right? So that's kind of where we're going with AI. Yes, even in dentistry. So here is a computer, an AI generated image. And some of you will laugh. I put into the computer program, I put in the prompt, make me a dental AI collage. And this is what it spit out. And so on the outset, it looks pretty decent. I mean, this was right when I did this earlier this year, right when ChatGPT, or late last year, I think, right when ChatGPT was really becoming more available, right when the generative AI was kind of launching. I said, I'm going to see what happens if I put this phrase in. So I put in dental, make me a collage of dental AI. And this is what came out. So I would say it's smart, but then if you look closely, like the noses and mouths are off, and some of these machines, I don't know what they're supposed to do, but I think it did a pretty good job for being a new kind of tool to use. Okay, so this is what the computer thinks dental AI is. Okay, moving on. The ADA recently this year came out with a white paper. They've been coming out with more evidence and statements about technology and AI. And if you haven't been on the ADA website in a while, I would encourage you to go and check it out, especially now with all of this fluoride in the news, taking fluoride out of industrial water supplies. This is a place that can be a resource for you and can help you understand how to move forward and what's going on. So the ADA has a lot of position papers. You can sign up for their newsletter. Very helpful. Things just land in your inbox. You can skim it. But there are a lot of tools on the ADA website, also on the ADHA website. So I use both of those regularly to dive in to see what's happening. So earlier in 2024, the ADA came out with this article, and it was basically saying, we understand now that AI can help reduce administrative burdens within the practice. And this was one of the first times the ADA really spoke out on AI in general. And so they say the emergence and promise of generative artificial intelligence represents a turning point for healthcare. Rigorous evaluation of generative AI deployment and clinical practice is needed to inform strategic decision making. And so this was a review of a study, and the ADA came out with this. So my point is this: Our profession is headed this way, so we need to hop on board. But also know that anytime a representative body makes a statement or begins to discuss something, many times there's a lag time between when they do that and when it actually started. So the fact the ADA is, talking about AI, it's great. But the reality is we've been talking about it for years. It just takes a little bit of time to get statements together, to get white papers together and things like that. So here we go. There is a very, very good journal article for those of you that like to dive into the fine print. There's a very good journal article about AI uses in dentistry. And I know this graphic is the words on it are a little bit small, but it basically divides AI into about 10 different areas of use in dentistry. And it describes how we can and will use it. So I'll talk about some of this in the course today, but it's a good thing for you if you just want to get a huge foundation. If you're a reader, this is where you go and this is where you can do it. If anybody needs this, reach out to me. You can take a screenshot, take a picture with your phone. The URL is at the bottom there. But this is one of the best articles pertaining to AI and dentistry. So what we're going to do from the rest from here on out is walk through the patient's journey. We'll walk through Bob's journey. Walk through the patient journey from the time they first hear about the dental office to the time they walk in and sit in our chair, from the time they leave and follow up and payment. We're going to walk through the patient journey. We're going to talk about the ways we're already using AI in that patient journey and the ways we can use AI and the things that are coming down the road. One of the reasons that I see things that are coming down the road is because of the consulting work that I do with manufacturers and product developers. So this is why I can share with you some of these things. I have conversations with a lot of companies about things that are just revolutionary, that's going to change everything we do. And I want you to know about it. I want you to prepare yourself and get ready for it. Recently, the Dental AI Association launched last year, and this is an amazing association. I am one of the only hygienists on the executive board. I am the chair of the dental hygiene department for it. The Dental AI Association is going to come out with a journal, educational courses. It's probably a school. I mean, the things that are coming from this association are going to blow your minds. And it's worldwide. This association is worldwide. So when I'm on the executive calls, we're with people from Egypt, Europe, China, all across the world. And so what the association is going to help with is to help create standards of AI in dentistry and to help make sure that it can be utilized practically by the clinician to better our societies. So you can go to the Dental AI Association website if you want, learn more. You can contact me to learn more. But that's a great tool, and that's something that just launched not too long ago. So let's look at the AI uses pre-clinical appointment. So when the patient hasn't even seen us, hasn't even visited the office yet, how in the patient journey, how are we using AI? One of the biggest ways we've used it is with dental marketing. So for those of you who have been in dentistry a long time, you'll remember when dental websites first arrived. They were cookie cutter. They were the coolest thing, right? That happened when I first arrived in dentistry, early 2000s. So we got these websites, and then it took a couple of years for us to realize that now that we have these websites, we can actually market now to patients. Before dental office websites, the marketing we did was mainly through third-party payers and insurance companies or word of mouth, right? So practice would join an insurance, be a preferred provider, because we know that most of the employees in town have that insurance. So now we're going to join it and they'll find us through that, right? That was our form of marketing back in the day, or word of mouth. That grandma would bring the kids would bring their kids and the grandkids. And that's how we survived. Since the early 2000s, since dental websites. AI and technology has helped us go where no one has gone before. Now we can target patients through social media. We can target patients through any of their devices that are hooked up to the internet. We can have programmatic targeting. That's when I clicked on the vacuum cleaner and now I see it everywhere and my husband sees it on his device. It's called programmatic targeting. One of the best things you can do in your own dental practice, and this is a little strategy that I like to throw out there for you. So let's say Bob is sitting in your chair and you want him to purchase an electric toothbrush, okay? Here's a scenario that will help you, your practice, and Bob. Okay, so what you do is you have Bob on his phone, you have Bob go to your practice website. On your practice website, you have a landing page that talks about all the products that you guys recommend, and it hyperlinks to those products. So if Bob can go to that landing page, click on that hyperlink, and that hyperlink will take them to the product website, okay? Now here's the thing, remember when I clicked on the vacuum and I started seeing vacuums everywhere on all of my devices? Since Bob clicked on that toothbrush, now you're going to let AI do the work for you. Now Bob is going to see toothbrushes everywhere he goes on any device. And it'll be a constant reminder that number one, he needs to buy one. Number two, he needs to brush his teeth more, right? So use AI. That's one way to help work smarter. And then the fact that Bob went to your practice website, it helps boost your own website and then go from there. So that's something that I would strongly recommend. Send them to your website, QR code or whatever, have them click on the actual product, and then they will be inundated. Your patients will be inundated by reminders at least for a week, if not longer, about that toothbrush. Something else you can use right now is ChatGPT. If we were together, I would ask all of you to raise your hands if you use ChatGPT. Because we're virtual, if you use ChatGPT and if you have any feelings about it, let's put it in the chat. If you love it, if you hate it, what you use it for, ChatGPT is an amazing thing. It's amazing because you can create a course in just a couple minutes, right? If you need to present something, you can create that. If you have a contract and you can put that contract into ChatGPT and say, review this as if you were a lawyer, right? You can have ChatGPT create your social posts. If you're a manager and you have to send out a difficult email and maybe you're mad when you're writing that email, you can send that email through ChatGPT and say, remove the emotion, right? That way your anger won't come through, right? ChatGPT has so many uses and it's becoming smarter and smarter. So in the chat box, if you have a favorite way to use it, or if you hate it, just let us know. Just let's get that chat going. It's fun to watch that as it goes along. And here's another AI generated image here. I forget the prompt I put for that one, but that was a fun one. In the future, personalization of everything is going to be more and more important. We talked about it a little bit. You'll hear it as we go forward. Another way that AI is revolutionizing everything we do is with patient communication. So again, as hygienists, many of us have experience working the front desk. Sometimes we are the ones that have to call and remind patients and kind of shift schedules around. So now we have tools that can do it for us. So there's tools that can manage the office on the go. If there's a missed call with the practice, it can text the office manager. You can call or text from a landline, but you can do that through your own phone. So you could be on the beach and still manning your office's phones. That's voice over internet protocol. You can have conversational AI with chatbots, with robots, and AI team members, which we've talked about. At this point, the first time I heard about an AI team member in dentistry was probably early 2024. And I've since then seen about 5 or 6 companies begin to offer this kind of a product. So know that it's new, know that many of them are kind of in beta test. They're kind of testing it out still, but pretty soon there's going to be a lot of them within dentistry and you'll have to pick and choose which one you want. Here's an interesting statistic as far as email goes. And I know as hygienists, oftentimes we're not sending emails to patients, but still, this is something that you need to be aware of in case you need to, or in case you see in your practice, oh, guys, why aren't we doing it this way? We should do it this way. So, email used to be the way to communicate with patients, it used to be the gold standard. Right now, the open rate for any email that is sent, and this was 2024, is about 20%. If 20% of the emails you send get opened, you are doing a good job. What that translates to, though, is if you send out 10 emails saying, hey, patient, your appointment is tomorrow, only 2 of them will be opened. Okay. Most of them go to spam, especially if you add attachments or links or too many characters in the subject line. It's just crazy stuff like that. The click-through rate is just under 3%. So that means if you have, let's say you need a patient to pay, you send them an email to pay. Chances are 20% of those emails will be opened, and then only 3% of those will click on something within the email. Okay, so if you're looking for payment, definitely send email, but it might not be enough. Response time, this says, was 90 minutes to get a response back through email. I would suggest that that is now at least a day, probably 2 days, maybe even more. Okay. Compare all those statistics to texting. Texting right now in 2024 and 2025, it will change. Right now, 98% of texts are opened. Only about 10% are reported to spam. If you send a text to payment link through text, most likely you'll receive payment, right? Up to 98% will be clicked through, down to 45. And response time is about a minute, minute and a half. What we'll see in the future, and even starting now, is we will start to see text fatigue come through. Just like we've seen with email fatigue. When emails were first sent, everyone was opened, everyone was clicked on, everyone was read. And it didn't take long for email fatigue to happen, just a couple of years. And now the gold standard is texting. So if your office is struggling with no-shows or not getting payment or even sending oral hygiene education, texting is the way to do it. Okay. I can't stress that enough. It's not going to be permanently, right? Because the text fatigue is coming down the road. Now, people are going to get too many texts, they won't even open them. Okay. But it is coming down the road. With scheduling, again, there's plenty of hygienists who have to schedule. There's plenty of hygienists who say, I'm not scheduling, send to the front desk. They know the schedule better. They can schedule the patient. Okay. I'm in both courts there. It works either way. For scheduling, AI helps pull out all the openings and fill them. AI can pull up the quick fill lists, the most productive appointments. AI can pull up the hygiene patients who need work done or miss their 3-month recare or are most likely to show up if we ask them to come in tomorrow. Okay, so artificial intelligence and technology can help us with a lot of that. Our practice management software programs have done a decent job in the past, but now they are so massive and so big that now a lot of times we need third parties to come in and say, hey, can you help our practice management program work better? And so that's where we see right now there's different platforms out there that we can add on, that we can integrate into our PMS to help these things happen. One of the biggest things, we know that the schedule is if the schedule isn't right, then your day is not going to go right. So I would still suggest that you take a good hard look at your schedule tomorrow, next week, and next month to make sure that it is running properly. Okay. Insurance verification. I had a conversation with one of the large insurance providers about 2 years ago, and they said they had just started implementing AI to automatically approve preventive reimbursements. So that what that means is we send in our prophy or our x-rays or fluoride, and instead of a human eye looking at that claim, because it's a specific code, the computer will look and make sure you have everything correct, and it'll automatically approve payment. And they were saying at that point that turnaround was 24 hours for that payment. So if our practice can receive faster payment, that's one of the biggest flaws in the business side of dentistry, is that payment for procedures is delayed by weeks and months. So if our practice can begin to receive faster payment, it will benefit us as the provider because it will benefit the business as a whole. It's a healthy business. Here's something too that I want you to know about that just entered the marketplace, a cloud portal. This is something in a year or two, we're gonna be like, well, yeah, duh, why didn't we do this all the time? Basically, a cloud portal is, let's say you're working in Op3 and you need to switch over to Op1 real quick. You take your employee card and you tap it at the new computer in Op1, and anything you were working on in Op3 just gets transferred to Op1. So because of this card, you can tap, and any device you're on, the cloud will pull up the work that you were doing. So the practice management, if you were offline on Word or something like that, typing up a document, all of that stuff will just follow you to whichever device you're on. So that's called a cloud portal. And it seems like one of these things like, oh my gosh, why aren't we using that already? The alternative is you have to log out of all of your programs, log out of the computer, walk to room 3, log back into the computer, log back into every program you were on, and hope that you saved your work, right? So that's the alternative. Okay, now comes the good part. Okay, AI uses during the clinical appointment. Let's go. Patient check-in. Bob walks in. Sometimes, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes the front desk people don't even look up. They are so busy, they are doing so much that if a person walks in, they can't even look up. It happens to me all the time when I go into the orthodontist, and even when I go into my own dentist, they don't look up. I'm standing there, nobody looks up. So what happens is we can make that process efficient. If you have a QR code, the patient scans a QR code, it pulls up any paperwork that needs to be filled in, and it gets the patient into the system and alerts us that they're there. Now there's different forms of this. Some offices will have a kiosk or an iPad that you can do this on, or just a monitor that you can do this on. But the future of this is simply for the patient to scan a QR code, and it pulls up everything so the patient can check in right then and there. Practice management system, we talked about this. This is the one way we've been using AI this entire time, is through our Dexis, our EagleSoft, through Open Dental, through any of those that we've been using and that we rely on. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. The biggest thing I'm going to point out is that there's a lot of security breaches. And I know as a hygienist, we're not in charge of making sure our computers are up to date, or that they're encrypted, or that, we're not in charge of any of that, but just keep an eye out, because many times we think as practices, we think that we're secure in the software and the technology we're using, when really we're not. And there's been several major security breaches in dentistry in the last 2 years, and it's going to keep happening. Patient comfort. This is an exciting one. We can use artificial intelligence instead of anesthesia, sedation, conscious sedation, general sedation. We can use AR instead of this. Okay, if any of you know Dr. Brian Laskin, he is a speaker and he's a practicing clinical dentist. In his practice, and you can Google him, in his practice, he uses a lot of therapeutic virtual reality. And this replaces the anesthesia. So basically what happens is the patient walks in, and he's got a couple books on it that he'll talk about how to do it. Patient walks in, and you start all of their senses. You have to calm all of their senses. So the sound, the smell, all of these things. So the patient is calm, and then you can put on virtual reality glasses and different things like that to help provide the same stimulation as anesthesia would. Okay, so this is a wild thought. I am not an expert in therapeutic virtual reality, so I will send you to Dr. Brian Laskin to learn more about that. But can you imagine if our patients walk in and they don't have to have a needle, right? My youngest broke her arm, and the biggest thing that I was worried about when she broke her arm was the sedation aspect of it. I did not want her to have that drug. You know, one little thing can go wrong and it could be a significant, you know, the anesthesiologist has a huge job. And so anytime one of my friends or family members is going through surgery, it's always the anesthesia that gives me a little bit of a, oh, I hope it's okay. Right. And so if we don't have to have any drugs or needles in our systems, and if we can use a type of virtual reality to help us, I mean, that's that's ridiculously amazing, right? So I'll send you to Dr. Brian for that. He can give you the expert and the anecdotal evidence for that. Something else I'd like to touch on is a product that is not yet, I can't say the name of it. It's still in stealth mode, which means it's creating the product right now. It's getting funding. It's noise reduction safety technology. So what this product is it's an earbud that you put in, the patient puts it in, and you put it in, and it filters out all of the harmful noises in the dental office. If we were in person, I would have all of you raise your hands, all of you that use subtitles when you watch TV or movies. I would have you raise your hands. You're welcome to put that in the chat right now. I use subtitles all the time on my TV and movies, and I know it's because of the hearing loss that has happened because of the harmful noises in the dental office. I love the sound of the drill. I love the sound of the suction. And I've been listening to it for 40 hours of a week since I was 19. All right. So that has damaged my hearing in ways that I don't even know. And so if we can raise a generation of clinicians and hygienists who don't have hearing loss, can you even imagine, right? So this technology that's coming down the line, earbuds that you put in and it filters out all of the harmful noises, even when I'm blow drying my hair. You know, I'm blow drying my hair twice a week, maybe. It used to be every day. That loud noise is enough to irritate me, and it ends up hurting my ears. Same thing anytime a neighbor turns on their leaf blower, right? Right? They're doing it for hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is noise pollution. Do I need to hear that? These earbuds will help filter out those noises. So I have two studies here that have to do with the therapeutic virtual reality. This one you can access just in PubMed. It's the role of virtual reality in pain perception following the administration of local anesthesia. And this is the clinical effects of different virtual reality presentation content on anxiety and pain. And that is a randomized control study. So I have the URLs there. If you want them, you can email me, you can contact me. These are fascinating studies that will blow your mind. Okay, so information captured. So now the patient is in the chair. We're starting to do our analysis. We're starting to do perio chart, x-rays, all of the stuff we do before we even do our therapy, right? How do we use AI during the information capture? One of the things, remember I was talking about the earbuds that filter out the harmful noises? Another aspect of those earbuds is communication. Those earbuds will allow us to talk to anybody in the dental office, including the patient. We just have to command it. So what you would do, you would say, patient room 3. And in your earbuds, you would be patched in to the patient in room 3. Or doctor, you'd be patched into the doctor and you can talk to the doctor. So this is a way to help with information, with help with communication. AI is used all the time with CBCT, intraoral scanning. The scanners are now getting smaller and smaller and smaller, thank goodness, because they were large for a while. We now also have something called voice-controlled computerized probing and charting. So let me describe this to you. Basically, and there's been foot-controlled perio probing. There's been headsets that you could wear to help with probing, but this is a new angle of it. Probing, perio charting is one of the hardest things that hygienists have to do, and here's why. In a lot of the practices that I've consulted with or worked in, the hygienist has nobody to lean on to help write down the numbers, the perio numbers, right? In school, we had somebody, the assistants, we would help each other. But when it comes to reality, when it comes to working in clinical practice, many times there is nobody available, or the practice hasn't made it priority to help you with your perio charting. So I've done so many different things throughout the years. I would write it down on the tray paper. I would have the patient have the perio chart when it was paper, and have them write it down, right? Because the patient will learn from that. Most times I still have to write things down, and then I put it into the patient chart at the end of the day, or at the end of the appointment, really. And that is so inefficient, right? And so if we can just speak out the numbers and the computer is listening to us, wouldn't that be a better way? So here's a product. This is Denti AI. They've come out with something that does just that. So it listens to you, and it just inputs it into the patient chart, right? It sounds so easy. Oh, why haven't we been doing this before? And this is one of the things where you don't really need a prompt. I put the voice cheat sheet up here so you can see what you have to do. Basically, you click the button that says you want to input voice probing, and then you just start speaking. 321, 323, 424. The commands that you can use are jump to quad 2, jump to number 24. You can do undo, you can do repeat, pause, resume. Then you can say jump to the gingival margin, or jump the recession, and then it'll start recording the recession for you. Jump recession on number 24, right? So it's different things like this that will help you. And this is getting smarter and smarter too. Eventually it'll just listen to you, and you don't have to actually put in specific commands. So that's what they're working on. And yeah, so this chart is amazing. If you go to Denti AI website, they have all of this for you, and you can learn more there. This is that smart digital mirror that I was talking about in the Bob scenario. This uses AI in the background, and I'll tell you how in a little bit, but this is a technology that I really hope that you come to understand, and that I hope you can use it in your career. Basically, this is called the Halo Dental Mirror. There was one type of mirror called the Smart Mirror that was released a couple years ago, and I don't know if that's still around. That did similar things to this. So this is the mirror that lights up, and it'll stream video, and you can take photos with it. You can command it to take photos. It'll light up. The AI aspect is when the light will light up depending on where you are in the mouth. It knows to light up at that point. It's a very, very good concept. I've spoken with the team at Halo. The product is not yet in the market. They were hoping to have it out in January. They have pre-orders now in January 2025. They're pre-ordering it now, but I believe it's going to take a little bit longer to actually get the product. It's in production, but to get it into the availability stage for market. One of the biggest things with this particular mirror is that the team wanted it to act and feel like your regular intraoral mirror, so that you can use it on every patient, right? If it's too heavy, if it's too bulky, we're not going to use it, right? If it doesn't feel good, if it makes our hand have pain, we're not going to use it on every patient. But what we want is for everyone to be using this. So sometimes I call this an intraoral camera that happens to look like a mirror, or it can be a mirror with an intraoral camera in it. I go back and forth with how I describe it to people. But this is a very, very cool device, and it's going to help with communication, help with diagnoses, help with just like with Bob, with talking to specialists, and potentially save lives. So this is a great tool. The team is from Canada, so if you want to stay in the loop with that, just go to halodental.com, and you can stay in the loop with that. There's lots of products, and I want you to know these products' names so that when you see them in the journals, when you see them in RDH magazine, when you see them on the exhibit floor, then it clicks. Oh, that's what Melissa was talking about. I'm going to go and check it out and try it out for myself, right? So that's why I'm really product focused, because there are things coming down the line that I said this before. It's blowing my mind. It's going to blow your mind. So here's where we get into the dental x-ray AI portion of things. I have some examples of some of the products that you'll see. One of the biggest benefits, so let me just back up. If you don't know what dental x-ray AI is, I'm going to lay it all out for you. I've kind of sneak peeked it a little bit. What happens is you take an x-ray, you have the dental x-ray AI program, and it pulls up all the existing, and it can chart all the existing um, restorations on that x-ray, and it will circle and highlight all the pathology, all the bone loss, anything that doesn't look normal, anything that looks abnormal, it'll highlight those things for you. There's lots of benefits to this, many, many, many benefits. The first thing that I can tell you is that your patients will believe a computer faster than they'll believe anything that comes out of your mouth or the dentist's mouth, right? So the name of the game is show, don't tell. And this is what I teach with salivary testing as well. If you take an oral test and you show the patient the results of that test, and that test says that they probably have gingivitis, or they probably will have periodontal disease, or they are at risk for cancer. If a computer tells them that, or if the test result tells them that, they will understand and they will take ownership of it much faster than if we just start telling them that out of our mouths, right? It's in 2025, it doesn't really work to say, trust me, I'm the dental hygienist, or trust me, I'm the dentist, right? That's why a lot of our patients would go get second opinions or would go on social media and say, does this sound right? But now, since the computer can tell them that, hey, there's something on the x-ray that you need to be concerned about, they're going to start to take ownership of that disease and of that condition more than they would have in the past. So that's one of the biggest benefits of this x-ray AI. There's Pearl, there's Videa, there's Denti AI, there's Diagnicat in Canada, there's Kells. There's a whole bunch of these x-ray AI companies that have come out in the last 5 years. And what we'll see in the next 5 years is they'll start to consolidate, right? So these are third-party platforms that will integrate into your x-ray software. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can enhance the intraoral photographs. You can customize some of this stuff. Right now, some of the newest platforms are being able to read 3D and 2D now. But something that I want you to understand is the garbage in, garbage out rule. So for the last 10 years, these companies have been putting x-rays into their system and have been saying, okay, this area is a cavity, this area, they've been inputting all that data. Well, what if the x-rays were poor x-rays, right? If you put garbage in, garbage will come out. So what I'd like to see in the future, and there are some products out there like the Luna Light, there's products that are helping us take better x-rays, right? If we can take better x-rays, we put those x-rays into machine learning, into the AI systems, then we'll have better output, right? So how many x-rays do we take that are overlapped, right? The interproximal margins are just overlapped. It just happens all the time because of user error, because the teeth are misaligned. So garbage in, garbage out. Just know with any of this AI, if you put garbage in, then garbage will come out. But as we find better ways to put in better x-rays without overlap, without cone cuts, more clear x-rays, then the AI will get smarter as we go along. So in every time I have this course, the feedback is, Melissa, we want to see more and more of the actual x-ray AI products. So over the next couple slides, I have some examples of what these products look like, just so you can familiarize yourself with them, okay? So this one is Overjet. This one shows the clinical attachment loss. This one shows existing x-rays. The red and yellow are the potential cavities. Now, every one of these platforms will say you still need a human eye on the x-ray. You still need a human eye on the x-ray. Eventually, maybe that will go away. But this will allow us to calibrate. It'll allow young dentists and older dentists to be on the same page. It'll decrease second opinions. It'll allow hygienists to maybe help with with education on treatment for the patient. It'll have assistance to the same thing.
UARDH
This
at
is magnificent. Use
co2co.ca.
another one from Overjet. Again, you see the existing restorations. You can see the pulp chambers. The fact that we can get accurate measurements on this is simply amazing. We all know that perio charting is a little bit subjective sometimes. And so if the more objective measurements we can get, the better we can diagnose and treat. So here's another one from Overjet. This is describing the depth of the cavity there. And the other thing we know that any cavity that shows up on an x-ray is always smaller than what it actually is in real life. So keep that in mind as well. This one is from Pearl. This is pointing out a periapical radiancy, as you can see there. And again, this just shows up on the x-ray. You don't have to change any settings. You don't have to do anything. It just shows up for you. This makes me think back to all the times where I would see dentists in my early days just holding up an x-ray, to the window or something. Oh yeah, you're fine. You're fine. How much disease did we miss back in that day? This is Denti AI. Again, this shows clinical attachment loss. It shows an amalgam there, some composites. And on the side there, you can magnify. You have all the tools that you would have on your regular x-ray software. You can show non-pathology. And here's another Denti AI. This one shows existing crowns. And it also has percentages there too. So each of these x-ray platforms will have different nuances and tools that will help you. Some you may never use, and some you may say, oh yeah, I rely on that every day. Here's another Denti AI with a full mouth and with a pano. And again, this is charting existing. It's talking about clinical attachment loss, bone loss, pocket depth. And this is the report that the patient gets. This is very important, that the patient has access to the information and the data that we collect. I believe that dentistry is probably the last industry that doesn't have that we don't have patient portals, right? Anytime I go to the doctor and I get blood work done and I can see the results of that blood work the next day in my patient portal, I mean, that's how it should be, right? And in dentistry, we're just a little bit slow to do that. So hopefully by, in a year or two, all of us will have patient portals for our patients so they can see things like that. So this is a patient visit report, and it walks them through what the computer program is seeing. And again, you can go in here and you can customize any of this, and each of these x-ray platforms will have different ones. So this is a chart, and it's an outdated chart, but I wanted to kind of show this to you as an example as to how all of these x-ray platforms are different from one another. So this chart I found on Pearl, but again, it's outdated. And it highlights what Pearl is good at. So keep that in mind as well. But what's happened is this. For years, all of these x-ray AI platforms have been machine learning, where they've been inputting data and they've been collecting data. Then all that needs to get sent to the FDA to be cleared. Once they have an FDA clearance on something, then they can market and sell it to the public. So what happens is one company might be the first to become FDA cleared to identify cavities on bite wings for ages 12 and older. And then the next company might be the first to get FDA cleared for cavities on a pano for ages 12 and under, right? So since COVID, basically, each of these companies has been announcing and pushing the fact that they're the first to get cleared for this. They're the first to get cleared for this. They're the first to get cleared for this. Eventually, they're all going to be cleared for everything, right? But now what we're going to have to deal with in the next couple of years is you need to decide which platform you use based on the needs of your practice and of your patients. So if you don't ever treat kids, then you don't need to use a platform that is approved to find cavities on kids, right? So this is what's happening. Some of these platforms can only read bite wings, some can only read periapicals, some can read panos in 3D now, and they're all starting to kind of do all of it. But this is what's been happening up until now. So this chart is just an example. It's saying that Pearl, you can do these, and the competitors can't do that yet. This has changed now that they've all gotten more FDA clearances, okay? So if you want to know the differences between the X-ray products that are out there, this is what it's talking about. Some are approved to find calculus, some are approved to find bone loss, some are not. So you just have to kind of dive into the weeds with it and see what your needs are for your practice and for your patients. Okay, so moving on from that, I'm sure you have questions. Again, most of the feedback I've gotten is people wanted to see more and more of those pictures so they familiarize themselves with it. So now you have it, digest it, and then if you need any help figuring out which platform is best for your practice or convincing your doctor that you need to get this, then just reach out, let me know. Happy to help. One of the other things in clinical practice that I'm really excited about right now is the fact that technology and AI is allowing us to do oral testing and to have it be chairside, point of care. That's what that means. If you can take a test and have the results right then and there, that's called point of care testing. And that's becoming available. Most of these tests you still have to send out. So I have an entire course on salivary testing, but I call it oral testing because sometimes we're not just taking a saliva sample. Sometimes you're taking a plaque sample. Sometimes you're actually taking a cell sample. Sometimes the test will diagnose. Most often it won't. It'll just tell you risk factors for diseases. Sometimes the tests will test what pathogens are in the mouth. Sometimes they'll test the DNA of the pathogen. Once in a while, they'll test the DNA of the human. Sometimes they'll test the mRNA of the human as well. So as you're going forward with oral testing, there's so many on the market right now. If you need any help differentiating, okay, what should my practice use? Reach out, please let me know. There's also something that's happening right now, and it's called real-time monitoring. And this is what in the lower corner on the phone here, this is what that's showing. So there's a company called Lura Health, and the founder, his name is Daniel. He is this young kid who had this idea, and he's been working for years to make it happen. So basically, this real-time pH monitoring, basically you put this tiny computer chip on your tooth or on an aligner, okay? And you have an app, and anytime you're eating or drinking or lack of saliva or lots of saliva, you'll see the pH graph change in real time. So when I was with Daniel, I think I was at Chicago Midwinter on the exhibit floor, and he showed me how this worked. He said, Melissa, I'm going to take a swig of water. And he took a swig of water, and the pH didn't really change. Then he drank some Coke, or it might have been Pepsi, and you could see that pH just change in real time. So this is what's coming down the road, but not just for pH, okay? Coming down the road, we're going to be able to monitor diabetes real time, different other conditions in the mouth, hormones real time. Okay, so this is what's coming down the road. It is flipping fabulous. I cannot wait for this. This is going to help our patients take more ownership of what's happening in their mouth, and it's going to help them understand that what happens in their mouth is connected to the rest of their body. And just anecdotally here, I purchased a device. It's not a dental device, but I purchased a device the other day called the Lumen. Basically, it looks like a breathalyzer, and it analyzes the breath. And I think this is where dental is going now in the future too. If we can analyze, we know we can analyze blood, stool, urine. We know we can analyze saliva. Now we can analyze breath. What the Lumen does is it measures the amount of carbon dioxide in your breath, and it tells you if you're burning fat or carbs in that moment. So, if you're going to go work out and you're burning fat, then you need a carb load, right? So you have that energy to go work out. So it helps you lose weight, it helps you get healthy, but it mostly just helps you understand what's happening in your body in real time. And that's huge. So this I could talk all day just on this slide alone. Over the last year, I have tested many of the oral tests on the market. I've done it myself, and I've learned the nuances and the differences between them. With treatment planning, the name of the game here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but the name of the game here is that our patients' treatment plans are going to become more personal in the future because of AI, because of the oral tests that we're going to do on them. If you take a salivary test on your patient, and the test is testing to see if they're at risk for cavities and perio, it comes back saying, oh, the patient's, because of their genetic history, because of what's happening in their mouth, the biomarkers that we've read, the patient isn't at risk for cavities, the patient's really at risk for periodontal disease. Now you can personalize that treatment plan even more to narrow down on the potential risk for that. It's a huge thing. So AI is helping us understand. And again, if we can get patient portals into every dental office so the patient has access to their treatment notes and charts and the test results, that's going to help our patients achieve health more than ever before. We're going to focus a little bit on the ways that AI can help in the specialties in dentistry. So outside of hygiene, we know this. In the lab and with prosthodontics, anytime a patient needs these things, we know that AI is helping there with same-day service, precision dentistry, CAD CAM. You know, this is outside of our purview, but yet it's right here. So we need to be aware of this. AI is helping us with quality control. It's helping us scan. It's helping us make more accurate restorations so that when the patient comes in, they slide right in and the patient goes on their day. We know that AI is helping with endo. It's helping pull out retreats on the x-ray if there's an endo that didn't quite get to the apex of the tooth. The x-ray can now pull this out, and this is a study showing that it's now accurate and even more accurate than humans. We know that orthodontics with Invisalign, Candid, all of these things are using AI, and I am going through Invisalign treatment right now. I don't have my aligners in, shame on me, but they make me lisp so much and they dry my mouth out. So I don't have them in right now, but it's amazing just how much technology is utilized in Invisalign treatment. I had treatment about 15 years ago as well through Invisalign. And so it was interesting to see the change happen between then and now. There's now an Invisalign app, right? We didn't have that 15 years ago when I first went through it. AI is going to help this treatment become more predictable, more precise, and more efficient. There's also custom braces out there that they 3D print the bracket to adhere to the tooth better. So instead of having a flat or a curved generic surface, now they can 3D print so that it meshes with the tooth even better. That's called Light Force braces, Light Force Ortho. And can you imagine if that bracket adheres to the tooth in a precise way, how much more effective that bracket can move the tooth? So these are things that are already here, and it uses AI. Okay, we're going to start to fly through the rest of our time together. Post-appointment, how are we using AI? I don't know if any of you have to process payment. There are some hygienists that do. I don't ever want to do that because I don't know what's going on the payment side of things, right? But AI is helping us automate invoice generation, send payment, automatic payment reminders. It's helping us look for fraud. And it helps us look, you know, if we didn't fill out a form correctly, or if the patient didn't fill out a form correctly, it'll call that out, it'll flag those things, and it helps us with insurance processing. So we know all this, we rely on this every day. With referrals, it's very important, just like in the Bob scenario in the very beginning, it's important that we can streamline the referral process. When I first started back in the day, what did we do? We filled out a paper referral form. We put it in the fax machine. We faxed it to the specialist in hopes that they received it, right? That's what we did back in the day. Some dental practices still have a fax machine and still do that. Now we can do it through encrypted email, but better yet, why not have it automatically done? Why not have Bob have a consult with the specialist, a virtual consult, in our consult room so that if he has questions when he hops off, that we're there for him. This is the type of thing that will benefit us. Right now, we can actually track referrals and get data on that, get insights on that to see how many patients actually go to that specialist. The name of the game in the future is to communicate and share information in real time with the other care providers. You know, if you have a cancer patient, if anybody in your family has ever gone through any type of major health incident, then you understand this. You understand how fragmented all of the care providers are. And if we have one way where all the care providers can see what's happening and find and see the test results and communicate efficiently and in real time, that's going to help our patients achieve the health that they that they deserve, really. When we're following up with our patients, it used to be that we'd have to just wait for them to come in 6 months later, or we would send them, a checklist in the mail. Are you doing these things? And now we have it easy. Now we can simply call them up and have a virtual consult with them. Hey, we just want to check in on number 30 down here. I just want to see how that pocket is. Can you open your mouth? It's amazing what you can see through a phone. Even a blurry video, a blurry photo, it's amazing how you can see, you can see enough to make a decision. Okay, yes, you need to come back in next week. You need to come back in tomorrow, or okay, we'll see you back at your 6 month. It looks good, right? So this is what we're talking about with patient communication. There's something called remote patient monitoring, and this is a form of virtual care. It's a form of teledentistry. Remote patient monitoring is when, the best example is diabetes. Patients will now wear a device at home. The device monitors their insulin and it sends it to an app, the patient app, but the provider also has an app as well. So the provider can monitor it at home. That's called remote patient monitoring. There's something called mHealth, and this is just mobile health. This is any kind of health related activity that you can do on your phone or on device. So Fitbit, things like that, all of those use AI. These are the different types of teledentistry. And then you have the face-to-face teledentistry, and then you have the asynchronous teledentistry, where you're sending information back and forth, but it's not real time. So that's called the asynchronous teledentistry. So all of these things are ways to follow up with your patient, and we couldn't do it without computers. We couldn't do it without devices. Now you can stay more connected to your patient more than ever, okay? And this is where we begin to see change in patient habits. We begin to see change. We can catch things sooner, right? This is so incredibly important for us. So here we are talking about virtual appointments. Teledentistry is the same as virtual appointments. It spiked over COVID, and we knew that would happen. And then it started to level out. In a few years, all of a sudden, every dental office, every healthcare provider will be providing virtual appointments. In a few years, that's going to happen, and the word teledentistry won't even be spoken again because it will be so ingrained in what we're already doing. The best times to use virtual appointments are to meet and greet new patients. Therefore, the quick look and see post-op appointments that the patient comes in for, whether they had scaling, whether they had a tooth pulled, you can just do a quick look and see on a virtual appointment, and the patient can do it from the comfort of their own home. And the cool thing is the provider can do it from the comfort of their own home too, right? The dentist can be on vacation and say, oh yeah, I had that a virtual appointment with Bob. I got to check his the spot that we took out the other day. And so he can just do it virtually, right? Two of the biggest ways that virtual appointments are going to be most significant in the future, in the near future. First of all, with all these COVID patients that dropped, if we can pull them in with a virtual appointment, say, hey, you haven't been in the dental office in 4 years. We just want to check on that one filling that the doctor did. Can you make a virtual appointment? We're just going to check on it. And then that gets them back into the system. That gets them back in as an active patient. The other thing we're going to see with virtual appointments is with the baby boomers. So right now, a lot of the baby boomers are leaving the practice because they simply are losing autonomy. They can't drive in the dark. They can't drive in the rain. They can't drive in the snow, right? This is going to happen over and over again. The boomers are a huge generation, and they are enormous portions of our practice patient populations. And so if we can get the boomers understanding how to use virtual appointments now, then they can remain active patients while they lose their autonomy. So that's something to think about from a business owner's perspective, but also from a hygiene perspective. You've invested so much time and energy into your boomer patients. You want them to have their teeth for the rest of their life. They will, but you want them to be healthy and not have dry mouth. And you want this for them because you've invested in them. And so having a quick virtual appointment can help with that as well. Speaking of dry mouth, off topic, dry mouth is rampant. Xerostomia is silent but deadly. And my mom-in-law is going through some things right now. Nobody knows why, but her mouth is as dry as a desert. Normal, healthy person. And so this opened my eyes to how prevalent xerostomia is and how we need to do more for it. So stay tuned. That's coming down the line from me in the next year because I am all about it right now. We know so many medications and so many diseases cause dry mouth, and it's only going to get worse. If there's no saliva, you can't talk, eat, it hurts like crazy. And I'm going through it now with my Invisalign, right? Anytime I put my Invisalign in, my mouth just gets dry. So I understand what these patients are going through. So xerostomia, it's time to get protocols in place for your patients. Okay. And I love this slide because this is mobile dentistry. If you're going to take virtual care to a patient, the next step is to go to their house. This is off topic, but I love this slide. Look at these cool mobile units, right? Love them. Look, they're open and spacious. All right, so we're just gonna kind of dive through the AI uses on the business side because even though you're a hygienist, it is still very important that you understand how the entire office flows. And especially because in some states, you can own your own business, even if it has to be a nonprofit, even if you can only treat, public health communities, you can own your own business in some states. But even if you can't, it's important for you to understand the business side of dentistry. You can use AI right now to really help with your patient reviews and the feedback you're getting. So one of the ways you can do it is to have real-time analysis of the patient feedback. So if your patients are leaving a whole bunch of Yelp reviews, that's good and that's great and you can skim them. But what if you had a computer program that can collect all that data and can push out, okay, most patients are saying this. Most patients are saying this. A few patients are saying this. They can categorize the patient reviews so that you can help digest them better. And then in the future, we're going to be focusing more on sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is basically when the computer can read emotion and can learn what you're saying based on emotion. So this is an area where computers haven't done much in the past because they can't read emotion, right? But sentiment analysis is coming on the line where computer systems will begin to understand more of the emotional side of things. One example I can give you, and this is fun. If any of you have ever seen the TV show Lie to Me, the TV show was about this, basically a detective who can read micro expressions on people's faces and can tell whether they're lying or angry, basically they're guilty or not guilty. So it's a good show, Lie to Me, but it's based on an actual scientific method of micro expressions, recognizing micro expressions. And I'm going through the certification process right now to be certified to read micro expressions, and it's amazing. So these are expressions that flash only for a millisecond, and they're universal through any culture and any country in the world. So, if you feel disgust for somebody, your nose will go up and you'll kind of go like that. But it'll just be just a millisecond. And so you have to know what to look for. And anyway, so this whole sentiment analysis with computers, that's one of the ways they're going to utilize it. They're going to understand the micro expressions, and maybe if you're Zooming with somebody, Zoom will begin to understand the micro expressions, and it'll tell you, oh, the person you're Zooming with is angry, right? So it could work that way, but it'll work in many other ways as well. So that can benefit us. Right now, too, these computer systems and AI are really helping us save money in various ways. There's some programs that will order your supplies, but they'll do it through multiple different suppliers and they'll find the lowest price for you. There's some computer programs that know when it's time for you to service your autoclave, update your computers. It's these types of things so that your practice can run more efficiently with the devices and the products that you have. So it can also help you track and spend patterns and cost reduction. It can also help you say, okay, it's probably time to order more patient bibs. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that will help the practice save money. And it can also tell you, hey, you have too much bond on, you have like 4 bottles of bond, you only need 1. These are the types of things that are coming on the line and that are already on the market for procurement, for supplies, for inventory management. Business and operational. Right now, there's a lot of data that these computer softwares are collecting every day on our patients, internally in the PMS systems, within the x-rays. All this data needs to be collected, and computer programs need to spit out the data and help us understand what the data means. Right now, there's computer programs that will record your phone calls and analyze that data as well. There's even a system coming down the line from Denti AI where I forget what the name of it is, but basically it listens to you, the computer listens to you as you talk to your patient, and it writes chart notes for you based on what you're talking to your patient about. It pulls out different things and it'll create comprehensive chart notes for you. And so can you imagine the implications of that? How many times do we wait to the end of the appointment to write a chart note and we're like, okay, I needed to remember to write that down, but I can't remember what it is? Or how many times, and this is not a best practice, so I would not recommend it, but how many times do you wait to the end of the day to complete your patient charts? You're not going to remember all the nuances, all the things you need to write down. And so having a system listen to you and write down the chart notes for you can take care of all of that. And then, of course, you can go back through and correct and adapt the chart notes as well. Also with staffing, there's a lot of staffing platforms out there right now that didn't used to be out there. Now there's apps, now there's real-time staffing tools that you can use to find permanent workers and temporary workers. And all of that uses AI on the background to match workers to help you find the best one for your practice. Okay, so we are wrapping things up in just a couple minutes, but I wanted to leave you with this story. So this story is about Patty DeGangi, and some of you on this call are going to know Patty. She is one of the icons in dentistry. She's been a mentor to me. She's been a role model to me. I have this book here called Teledentistry: Pathway to Prosperity, and she is one of the authors. Patty is also the founder of Dental Codology. She's done a lot of advocacy work, a lot of leadership work, and she's a mentor to many. And I'm talking about Patty because she's always been ahead of the curve. She wrote a teledentistry book even before COVID, right? She was talking about AI even before any of us were talking about it, which is why she's one of my role models. And so recently, Patty was undergoing some health issues. And so I talked to Patty. I said, I'm creating this AI course. And I said, I know you have a lot of words about AI. And so would it be okay to share your journey and your story, Patty? And she said, Melissa, of course. So let me tell you about her journey. So Patty's been a hygienist for a long, long time. And in March of 2020, and this is where you see this article that I have up here. In March of 2020, she wrote this article called Artificial Intelligence Goes Back to the Future. She wrote this article and it ended up being her last and final article that she ever wrote. And she's wrote hundreds of them throughout her career, hundreds, maybe even thousands. Just about a couple weeks before this article came out, I was with Patty at the National Mobile and Teledentistry Conference. She was speaking on teledentistry. She was on our stage. We were in Orlando, Florida. And at this speaking engagement, it was probably one of her last speaking engagements, if not her last one. She was on stage, and by this point, it's a whole community, everybody was family, and she started opening up to share about her health journey. And she said this, and I'm going to look at my notes so I get it right. She said last year in 2019, she started experiencing random health problems, symptoms. She was getting dizzy. She was dealing with numbness. She was dealing with UTIs. And then she said things started happening in her mouth. She said her root canal started failing. She said she was having bleeding and different types of pain, and just weird things were going on. And she said that what was happening was that she was being sent to all these specialists and nobody was talking. At this point, she was wearing an EKG monitor. And she talks about this in this article. And this article was in Dentistry Today. So you can find it on the Dentistry Today website. But she was talking about wearing an EKG monitor, and it was electrodes that were recording her heart data. And then it was sent through an app to the physician. And then she could also see it too. So that's remote patient monitoring, right? So she was going through all of these health issues, and she was talking about this from the stage, and this article came out. And wouldn't you know it, within a couple of weeks of leaving the stage, she started having major issues. She started having a stroke. She ended up having 10 strokes. She had multiple brain biopsies. She's had 15 to 20 MRIs, CAT scans. She's had chemo. She's been on steroids. And nobody could figure out, no one in her care team could figure out what the heck was happening. Can you imagine? This is one of us. This is a hygienist. This is an icon in the industry having these health issues, and nobody can give her an answer as to what's going on. Still to this day, they don't know. They don't know. She doesn't have plaque in her heart or anything like that. So when I was talking to Patty a couple months ago about what her message to my audience would be over this course, she said this. She said, Melissa, my message is this: get your crap together and begin using technology to work smarter, not harder. Because she said if her care team would have instant communication with another, if all of her specialists could have instant communication to all of the tests that are done, to all of the conversations that are happening, she said if they could communicate instantly, if they could all use technology and see what one another are doing, she said maybe, just maybe, they would have an answer to what happened to me. And maybe, just maybe, they could have prevented this whole ordeal. Because of this, she's had to retire from dentistry. She no longer writes articles. She's no longer on the stage, and it makes me sad. She was an icon, right? So this course is dedicated to Miss Patty DeGangi. Patty, I love you. If AI can help save lives, if me using AI could have helped Patty as my patient, she wasn't my patient, but if she was, if it could have helped prevent the turmoil and the struggle that she goes through, that she went through, that she is still going through, then heck, that is my responsibility to make that happen. Using technology in our clinical ops can save lives. And that is my point for you today. It is critical that you understand that. Just a couple more slides and then we're done. So what is the future? What is the future of AI in dentistry, and what is the future of AI in general? AI in general is going to become more immersive, more personalized. Everything will become more personalized to you as a unique human being, and that is good. We talked about autonomous vehicles. We talked about AI-driven robots. All of these things will become more sophisticated. They're going to be more precise and more efficient. They're going to be smarter. We talked about sentiment analysis tools. Computers are now going to be able to understand feelings. They won't feel. We're not the Matrix. They won't feel, but they'll understand feelings. And AI will allow humans to remove the mundane tasks so that we can create more complex and creative tasks for us, and we will be happier because of that. In dentistry, we'll see rapid consolidation among all of the AI companies. They're going to start to become under one roof. We'll see major tech advances. We're going to see how we acquire patients change. It's no longer going to be through simply the insurance companies that where we get new patients. We're seeing different other ways to reach and market to patients. And also staffing expectations and team expectations are going to shift because of AI tools and efficiencies that we're pulling into our practices. So what are the next steps? Where do you go from here? Well, if anything has stood out to you, go and research it on your own, Google it, figure it out, reach out to me, tell your practice owner, tell your team about it, because we're at the point where dental practices are going to be left behind, and clinicians. If you don't stay up with at least some of these technologies, you're going to be left in the dust. I firmly believe that in about 3 years, we're going to see dental practices that have holes in their schedules and they're not sure why. And it's going to because they haven't implemented technology today that will prevent that, that will help them be more efficient, that will make their dental services more convenient to their patients. So your job from here on out is to visit the expo hall, go to the live dental events. There's so much value in the live dental events. Say hi to the product and service companies, learn about their products, read the journals, read RDH magazine, read Dental Economics, network, reach out to people who you know use these tools and find out what they like about it, find out what they don't like about it. Trust the process, trust the AI process. Evaluate your clinical therapies that you're providing and practice smarter. With artificial intelligence, we don't know what we don't know. We literally don't know where it's going, but we know where it's already been. So we can utilize the tools that we know work. In dentistry, we certainly do not have to be cutting edge. We don't have to have the latest and greatest things that just came out last week, but we do need to know about them. We do need to be more efficient, more effective, more transparent, and more convenient for our patients. All of this information might be overwhelming to you, and that's fine, but just take the bits and pieces that stood out to you and drive forward with those. And so I wanted to leave you with just a couple funny images. You remember this image that I created, that I generated by AI? This was probably, within last year, probably a year ago. I wanted to see how generative AI has changed just in the last 8 to 10 months. So what I did was I put the same phrase, make me a collage of dental AI. I put that same phrase into the same generative program, and this is what came out. This image came out, and I have another one to share with you too. This looks like a textbook cover, doesn't it? And in the corner there, it has some words that you cannot read, and it says A, dentistry, artificial intelligence. So here we go. Generative AI is still not super smart, but it can be useful. I think the graphics on this one are good. They have some microscopic images there. And then here's another one that I found was pretty funny again. And I'm going to do this again a year from now. I'm going to do the same thing to see how much smarter generative AI has gotten. So this one looks pretty decent. I was kind of proud of that. Yep. There you go. Okay, so that's it for today. I know that was a lot of information, but I hope that you are no longer afraid when you hear the words AI. I hope that you understand that we live and breathe it all day long in our personal lives, in our professional lives. And I hope that you hear that 2025 is the time for you as a hygienist to work smarter, not harder. And by doing that, you can save lives. The end. That is all I have for you today. Please reach out with any questions. Follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back. And if any of you want to come to the Mobile Dentistry Conference, the Teledentistry Conference, you're welcome to do so. If you scan this QR code, then you will receive 50% off, which is wonderful. We'd love to have you here in Portland. Again, that's the beginning of March of 2025. It's just a couple weeks away, really. That's it for today. If you're ready for the CE code, I will advance to that. Here we go, the code for today's course. Again, thank you for being here. It's my pleasure to be with you. I hope to see you in the future, and please reach out if you need anything.
One second, madam. Okay, the flight tomorrow is at 9:40.
Keep going.